Hello everyone, we're in the same boat. We've got a QJ Motor 921RR. I don't know this bike yet, and I'd guess many of you don't either. But let's take a look at it together on our 1000 PS Hotlap test track. When a bike is unknown, hang on, what do I see here? There's an onboard camera fitted. Anyway, if a bike is unfamiliar, it's no bad idea to bring it along to the 1000 PS Hotlap test track. We've already been with it at the Pannoniaring on the 1000 PS Hotlap course, so it's already had to show what it can do on two different circuits. I even said the model name wrong because for me it was a complete blank slate. The bike is called SRK 921RR. It's totally unknown to me. I'm going in with an open mind, but I'm spotting little reminders that take me back to an old MV Agusta. And that's because there was once a collaboration between QJ Motor and the MV Agusta folks, and some elements from that time have made their way in. And you can feel that there's real experience baked into this bike, into the engine. In plenty of places, you find modern ingredients from big name brands. For example, we've got Pirelli tires on it, plus Brembo brakes. I can also see a Marzocchi steering damper up top. It's a bike you definitely shouldn't underestimate, and it makes quite an impression visually as well. I hope, well, I don't know, I can see a few scratches here. I hope that wasn't my colleagues last week at the Pannoniaring. Hopefully it was some other journalist. I'll find that out for you. So how was it then? I climbed on, and straight away you get that compact supersport feeling, that first impression of a proper supersport. This will reassure some of you, don't worry, this isn't some watered down sport tourer or something that only looks like a supersport but isn't actually sporty. It's a thoroughbred, proper sporty machine. And when I sit up and settle in, I'd also call it an Italian feeling motorcycle. You've got low mounted clip-ons. The riding position is very forward biased. For me, the upper body position worked well. For the record, I'm 185 centimeters tall. But at the end of the day, the overall concept of the bike doesn't really play to my height. Other supersports manage that a bit better. Lately, I've been riding a Kawasaki ZX-6, for example, and I somehow had a bit more room. A BMW S 1000R or an Aprilia RSV4 also suit me a bit better in terms of upper body space and the ability to shift around. I always felt a bit restricted in how I could position myself up top. For smaller riders, it'll probably be fine. But for me as a tall rider, this is definitely one of the super sports that's more demanding overall in terms of ergonomics. On the other hand, sticking with the downsides, I had a challenge with this bike both on corner entry and on corner exit, in that it took me a bit of time to build up trust. You might have noticed in the onboard footage that I was hesitating a little on turn-in and never went to maximum lean. And on the way out, I tended to get on the throttle later as well. That's because I always needed a moment to get myself positioned, to sort of nestle into it with my height, but it may also be that the chassis hasn't been fine-tuned for ultimate precision, and perhaps the overall setup leans a bit more towards stability. I think that was the reason, or maybe I'm just out of shape, could be. After 130 bikes here on the Supermoto track, I might be having a bit of a dip. I don't know. Normally, I'm fairly consistent, so that was a bit of a challenge for me. At corner entry and exit, I needed the odd millisecond to be able to tap into the potential. Brake modulation was okay. I heard that at the Panoneering, people had a bit of a moan about the ABS. For me, it was fine. Stick it in sport mode and everything's grand. What I also liked was the willingness to rev and the performance from the engine. That was absolutely fine too. What wasn't perfect, though, was that when I'm on the supermoto track and I'm not 100% happy with both first gear and second gear, then there's something up. Here, second gear naturally doesn't have enough punch, like with all super sports in this class. Of course, second gear doesn't have the right gearing. And in first gear, the engine mapping is a bit snatchy. And for me, there's no exotic bonus. I judge this bike exactly the same way I'd judge a Honda or a Suzuki. So there's no perfection in the chassis setup and no perfection in the engine calibration either, with a big but attached. If some of you didn't know the bike and were filing it away under exotic, you absolutely shouldn't. I'd slot it straight into the normal drawer with the good Japanese and the Italians. It goes right in there, no problem, even with my criticisms. In terms of the overall concept, the setup may be getting a bit long in the tooth now because the engine is older. And I reckon other bikes in the class with a different engine concept might be better served. And then with today's emissions rules, that first gear throttle response would probably be better as well. That's just me thinking out loud. What I really like is when I'm sat up top, if I beam myself back there, stand beside it, look it over, give the seat a little stroke, it's good. Great seat, some lovely touches here, like the open tail section. Because you're perched up here, I feel that sense of owner pride. And I remember last week at the Panoneering, this bike turned heads. That really surprised me too. Quick shifter, since I'm walking past it, worked well for me as well. All in all, it won't take a top spot simply because I couldn't extract my full performance today. And I think it's a combination of engine calibration and chassis setup. Those are my two excuses for today. But enough moaning or enough praise. I don't know if any of you have ridden it. Post below, where am I wrong, where am I right? The YouTube comments below really enrich our videos. I'm curious to see where it lands. I'm also curious where it lands on price. I'll drop a link to our marketplace below so I can see the price bracket dealers are offering it in, so we get a feel for what it costs. And in the 1000 PS lap time table, we'll see what it's worth. Have fun, folks.